Okay, so when we're talking about graphing by intercepts, and notice it's intercepts plural, we're going to start with standard form, okay? We're not using y equals mx plus b, because y equals mx plus b only gives you the b, which is the y-intercept. But when they talk about intercepts plural, they want both the x-intercept and the y-intercept. And remember, the x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. And the y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. And the cool thing is, when we're in standard form, we can do what's called a cover-up method. So, and I'll prove to you why, but basically, if you cover up the y term and solve for x, so when I'm covering up the y term, it's like I'm plugging in 0 for y, but anything times 0, b times 0 would be 0, and any ax plus 0 is just ax. Well, guess what? Then I can write this equation, ax equals c. And then all I have to do is divide by a on both sides and find the x-intercept. And guess what? I can do the opposite thing, and I can cover up the x term, because basically I'm plugging in 0 for x. If I plug in 0 for x, a times 0 is 0, 0 plus by is just by, and I get this equation, by equals c, and all I have to do is divide by b on both sides to solve for the y-intercept, okay? Then all we do is plot both intercepts and connect it. Now, the thing about the standard form, if a doesn't divide into c, or if b doesn't divide evenly into c, I would prefer to use y equals mx plus b, okay? Now, for our purposes to practice this, all of these equations will work, okay? So all we need to remember is to find the x-intercept, we cover up the y term, write our ax equals c equation, and then divide and solve for x. And then for the y-intercept, we just cover up the ax and solve for y by dividing b on both sides, okay? So for example, on number 1, if I cover up the y term, I just get 3x equals negative 6. And so all I have to do is divide by 3, and x equals negative 2. So on the x-axis, I'm going to plot my point on negative 2. Then I'm going to cover up the x term, but see this negative on the y? It has to stay on the y. So the 3x is the positive term, but the y term, the negative 2y, is negative. So we have to keep that negative. 2y equals negative 6, divide by negative 2, and we find that the y-intercept is positive 3. So if we go to positive 3, boom. And then all we have to do is connect those points with our line. This is really, really simple, but it doesn't always work. That's why we learned this and the y equals mx plus b, because not always do the a go into the c evenly or the b go into c evenly. So like number 2, if I do the cover up, I'm going to cover up and I have x equals 4. Well, guess what? The a is 1. I don't even need to divide by 1. So I can just graph my x-intercept at positive 4. Now let's do the y-intercept. So let's cover up the x. So we have positive 2y equals 4. Divide by 2, and y equals 2. So I just put my y-intercept at positive 2 and connect my points, okay? And just a little hint, like you can always use this right triangle to count your slope if you need it, okay? So let me see if there's any that I feel we need to go over. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, let's do number 5. So actually, let's do 3 and 5, because sometimes the easiest problems get people really confused. So if I cover up the y, I just get x equals 3. Well, there's nothing to solve, so I just put my y-intercept on positive 3. Well, when I cover up the x, I get y equals 3. There's nothing more to solve there because I already have a 1y, so I put my y-intercept at positive 3, and then boom, there's my graph. So on number 5, I cover up the y, which means I cover up the negative y in this case, and I write 4x equals negative 4. So I divide by 4, oops, and I get x equals negative 1. So I put my y-intercept at negative 1. Now remember, when you cover up the x, you cannot cover up the sign of the y. So it's negative y equals negative 4. Well, remember, a negative y means negative 1y. We still have to divide by negative 1 because we need to get the positive y. And then negative 4 divided by negative 1 is positive 4. Oh, you know what I just did? I made a mistake because I'm always thinking ahead. Oops. I didn't put my x-intercept on the wrong place. Don't make the mistake that I made. So I'm sorry, the x-intercept is at negative 1. The y-intercept is positive 4. And then you go ahead and draw that in. So pause the video and go ahead and do 4, 6, and then 7 through 10, and bring any questions to class.